and it's nice to introduce them because some don't know everybody. If the hoardings aren't up and they're in deep trouble. But I want to thank you all for being here today. It's nice to be surrounded by people that you know understand where we're coming from, and for us to then tell you where we're going to go with the arts and culture. This is the big launch of the Arts, Culture and Heritage Policy, and that's my granddaughter, and she's a budding artist. And then after today, I'm off to a Portuguese on November the 9th, where there's another little soupçon of this policy that's going to be launched in the heartland of New Zealand, and I wanted to show that this isn't just in the metropolitan cities. And then I'm in an arts forum in Wellington the next day, where we're really going to be grilled on the detail of the policy. So it's a thrill for us to be up here today. And you can see with this policy and with others being released that we're really on a roll now. And I have to tell you, as friends and supporters, we're feeling really good. And we're feeling very proud to be Labour at the moment. It's nice to be joined, Ben. I'm glad you can bring your baby out with you too, because I tell you what, it's a vote catcher. I'd like to see that we've got a life. We're not automatons. We've got a life, and we're representing that family around us. And it's important that you always feel you can go out with your family. And also thanks to the electorate committee. Electorate committees are our heroes, actually, in any party machine. They're the ones that do the hard yards for us while we go around launching our policies at events like this. But for getting people here, for putting pamphlets in letterboxes, for doing all the dogs, for putting up the billboards, we thank you, because that is Labour. It's the collective of us all, and it's lovely that you're here. Jacinda's here with a special role today, and I'm going to give Jacinda, she disappeared too. We've got a little team that put together the arts policy, and Jacinda's here in her capacity as the associate spokesperson for the arts, and Jacinda focuses on the music industry component of the policy, and she will outline our approach to the music industry. Grant Robertson from Wellington is also an associate, and he took the lead on the sections of archives and the National Library. So you can see it's so big, this section, that we've divided it up. Now, Chris Vincent can't believe that we need 3 spokespersons for the art, and I say, we're everywhere, don't worry, we've got the country covered. And he's a little pressured by our enthusiastic approach in this huge sector. Since we became opposition, and we learned about being in opposition because some of us had forgotten, we've been out all around the country in the last 3 years. I've met artisans, I've met collectives of artists that get together to develop their craft and develop their skills. I've met administrators. Hamish Keith isn't here, I hope he'd be here, because I met curmudgeons and educators, and I've really learned to experience the depth of this sector. Often when we think of arts, culture and heritage, we think of places like this, but actually down in the Chathams, Kelvin took me out into a wonderful old forest, a podocarp forest, where we saw the early dendroglyphs, which were the first art carved on beautiful native forests in the Chathams. So this policy has a great depth and breadth. You may not realise it, but it covers so many aspects. It covers growing poetry and literature, the fine arts, galleries and museums, the film sector, music, cultural diplomacy, how we wrap products around events like the Rugby World Cup, cultural talent, community, grassroots communities up in Kohu that I went into a wee gallery there and saw an amazing show about banjo art and ukulele art. It was just incredible, and came back with a great big lump of matai that is now gracing our home. And it also covers the Māori, Pacific and ethnic communities and appreciation. And it also covers industry training, education, schools, even early childhood education, archives, and last but not least, honouring our unique history and our heritage. So it's a huge, diverse portfolio, and it covers most of the other portfolios, but it is an essential part of the way we tell our stories and what makes us unique as New Zealanders, and we've just showcased that so well in the last 6 weeks. But there's another side to the arts. It's not all about showcasing, it's about valuing the energy, the enterprise and the confidence that does result from creative expression. I've deliberately chosen to launch the Arts, Culture and Heritage policy here today for a number of reasons. They care here and they have a passion for development of the creators of creative products and career development. And that was something Helen Clark told me when I got this role. I was told I had to come here, and then Darian said you've got to go in there and see what's going on. So this policy today, we've got copies here, and it's gone live at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and people will Google, and I'll tell you the Google number later, but we're calling it Homegrown, which really does reflect the next decade, building on that cultural recovery package that you'll remember when Helen Clark came in and started a resurgence of an interest in a valuing of the arts with both leadership in the sector and funding to match that leadership. This policy adds to that decade of investment in arts and creation, and will also add on other initiatives that are working. So there are things that are happening now which I think are great, and we'll just add to those. We believe that the development of regional arts, culture and heritage infrastructure is important for the many all around the country and not just the few. We wanted to demonstrate that we're not just Wellington-centric by coming up to the largest city to launch this policy today. And I've been in to see Mayor Len Brown and Deputy Mayor Penny House about what we are trying to do to fit in with the Auckland plan. But there are many regions like the far north, and I didn't know Kelvin was going to be here, and this is the truth, it's in my speech, and the Chathams, that have a passion for the arts and the heritage, and they deserve their slice of heaven too. Strong, artistic, culturally aware and heritage valuing communities foster both local economic growth, identity, pride and a connectedness, which is what we believe in our true Labour values. I see this as reflected in your Auckland plan, and yes, I have read your Auckland plan because I was trying to find where the sector does fit up here in this new and vibrant Auckland. It's in Chapter 3, where you state the need to value our artists, the creative sector and lifestyle. You want to increase the number of Aucklanders participating in the arts and also the number of people employed in the creative sector by 2040. This won't happen just with the Auckland Council alone. It has to have a planned approach, and we too at Labour have a plan that match that approach of the Auckland plan. We're here today because Linda and all those involved in this place have been involved in career development of the creative industries for the last 15 years. So it's not new to you that live here and have experience with this place. And we wish you a happy birthday on the 5th of November. Have we got a lovely present for you? Your proof that with a dream, leadership and government support, dreams can come true. Prior to the last election, this place was engaged in building on initiatives such as the PACE scheme, and Lynn mentioned that today, working in collaboration with other partners such as the Artists Alliance and the ASB Community Trust. Artspace runs an intern program, and this model links with the James Wallace Parr Gallery with 2 interns. So you see this collaborative approach is beginning in Auckland. Creative New Zealand has also assisted through capacity building, and the Ministry of Social Development also helps in a small way through a stream called Creative Industries Employment. Well, we're going to go bigger than that. Why should that only be happening in Auckland and Dunedin? Today I'm announcing a Creative Industries Apprenticeship, so you can all clap. a good idea that is, and links modules of learning with the industry training organisation and their creative sector cluster, starting with fine arts in the first year. The learning and skills development modules will focus on aspects like job creation, communication skills, work ethic, curating, and how to use the social media. We'll be establishing a small working group linked to the RTO in the first year to develop this program, and the skills reflected here today and the persistence of committed individuals with a proven track record is a great place to start. I'm also announcing that Labour will be developing an outreach program from Te Papa, our place, through the National Services Unit to sites to be developed by the Auckland and Christchurch councils. We want all New Zealanders to be able to experience the valuable national and contemporary collections for themselves, and we will push for a system that will make this happen sooner. Considerable investment has occurred through the Regional Museums Fund started by Labour. You're the beneficiaries today of the stunning Auckland City Art Gallery, opened earlier this year and funded by Labour. I actually didn't hear that at the open, but I thought I'd say it here again today. I'm inspired by the Dear Beacon concept of spaces for exhibition in New York, and that could be us using a space that could be adapted for interactive technology exhibitions, and exhibitions that I believe ought to be coming to Auckland and use these spaces quite flexibly. Auckland City's now planning a big use of spatial plan, and I believe they need to secure that footprint and facing decisions that we're going to live with for the next 50 years. And that's why we support some of the discussions underway that you're reading in the arts pages at the moment. It will be outreach of programs and exhibitions, and we're not defining for Auckland what that space ought to be, but I am excited to see that thinking has started when you look at the Wynyard Quarter. We're also announcing that once the current Regional Museums Fund, and all around the country there are stunning museums being refurbished now, is fully subscribed, we'll be widening the criteria of that fund to include creative industries infrastructure as one of the criteria for meeting that fund. I hear the need wherever I go for recording studios, performance spaces and film platforms, and that is a decision for regions to decide, but they can then apply to the Regional Creative Industries Infrastructure Fund. We also believe in investing in our children, and I'm glad there's a couple of children here today, and we'll continue to encourage young people to be excited and engaged with the arts and culture, whether it be Pacifica, Matatini, Kapahaka festivals, ukulele bands or orchestras. I think through their engagement and participation, they learn to value being part of a collective and the expression of their cultural talent. We're going to establish, with councils, the police, the Ministry of Social Development and the Ministry of Arts, Culture and Heritage, along with funding through the Creative Communities Regional Arts Committee, a network of children's art houses throughout the country. Where do our taggers go when they want to do something to express their incredible talent? Well, they'll have a space to go to put that talent into being shaped and developed. And that will be a policy worked through with district councils through the Creative Communities scheme. So I'm going into Opotiki to make that, to re-announce that, because I think it's so profound. And there's a wonderful leader there, Shona Hammond Boys, who started the concept but had no bones to that concept. And we can see a vision for New Zealand. Shona's been invited by Obama to go to America because he is about to announce children art houses. Well, we hope we can beat him to it here. There are many other aspects in this policy that will be well received by the film industry, museums, literature and the heritage sector that are just too numerous to name. Jacinda, I want you to just say a little bit about the music policy because she's worked so hard with the music industry. Thanks, Jacinda.
I'm not a children's art house, but thanks, Steve, and thank you all of you for coming today to hear about our policy, which we're really excited about. You know, it's so easy, I think, to pay lip service to the role that the arts play in our community. But it is so much more than just a play shaper. But how important is that role, though, as a play shaper? And I think that in the past, Labour governments, the reason we have been so focused on arts, culture and heritage is because we understood the role that it could play in shaping our identity of ourselves. And music is a core part of that. You know, in 2001, 6% of sales in New Zealand were of New Zealand music. Only 6%. Now we're looking at much closer to 20%. And that hasn't just happened. That has come through fostering our own domestic industry and by making sure that they had a market. And some of the things that we did around airtime for New Zealand musicians have made an incredible difference. But what we've tried to acknowledge in this policy is that things are changing dramatically for the creative industry, and the same goes for those who are working in the field of music. And so we've tried to make sure that there are three elements really of our policy to acknowledge the dynamic industry that our creative sector are working within. Copyright has dominated a lot of the discussion for our creatives and almost put unnecessarily them head-to-head with those in the IT and ISP sector. We're now at a place where we have a framework to protect the intellectual property of our creatives. The next step, though, has to be how we make sure that the really valuable role that our creatives play, that they are able to protect their own work and that they are able to continue to survive off the back of their own work. So what we've committed to is working alongside ISP providers, the music industry and musicians themselves to create a digital platform which allows them to monetize their own art. This is something that is being developed around the world. The likes of Spotify, for instance, overseas is a real example of what we can do here in New Zealand. We've got to get ahead of the game if we're going to continue to be able to support the music industry in New Zealand, and that's exactly what Labour is committed to doing. There's two other quick areas. One is acknowledging that actually there is a huge market outside of New Zealand for our musicians, and they deserve our support in going out there. And the difference for us, though, is it's not just about Australia. We want to make sure that our musicians have the chance to take their talents much further afield. We don't have to continue just to have a battle with Australia over Crowded House. We have so many, so many musicians to be absolutely proud of. The Naked and Famous, a brilliant example, are doing so well in Germany right now, and they're just an example of what is possible for us. And thirdly, what are we doing to support our young musicians? Our role of putting musicians into schools, it was a fantastic program. We want to make sure that that's back on the cards as well. There's one final thing I want to mention if I can see Maria, I know I'm taking too much time. But I'm Labour spokesperson for employment as well. And for me, this government has tried to pretend that the arts don't have a role in our economy. I think that's a complete fallacy. And they did that by attacking PACE. PACE now has been slowly eroded across the country. Here, there's a fantastic program. We want to make sure that we learn from best practice like places like this, and that all of our creators across the country, PACE isn't just a code in the wind system, but really a dynamic program that allows our creators to thrive. And finally, our actors. The changes that Jonathan Coleman made to immigration process has meant that essentially our film and television industry is treated differently than any other sector in New Zealand. For every other sector, you have to demonstrate that you can't fill a job in New Zealand before you bring in migrant labour. Jonathan Coleman changed that for the film and television industry. He's not backing our local talent and giving them a chance. We're yet to see the reasons why he's done that, but instead of just trying to find out his own personal rationale, we'll just make sure that we overturn his changes when we become government on the 27th of November. Thank you very much.
But I couldn't cover it all. And I couldn't speak about the digital platform like Jacinda, because that's that generation. That's the future too. So, homegrown, we are valuing our own creators of creative product, and they need to have a place for that product. Have a look at the policy online, www.ownourOwnfuture.something.co.nz, and you'll see the entire policy. We've got hard copy here of the policy, and it has gone live at 2 o'clock today. So thanks for coming. It's a great feeling to have you all here. It's terrific, and is the right place to be for the creative industries apprenticeship. Now we have a drink and a chat, and you can come and bend our ear about where we're going next. And Paula Gillen's just arrived, or here a bit earlier, so nice to see you too, Paula. Great, thank you.